But learning sales was huge for me because then it opened up so many more doors for me.
That is a big one.
Very huge blessing. Yeah. That little trigger of like her picking up.
Yeah. Not being afraid to like say how grateful and happy you are about your life and like speak about it.
Welcome to the Limitless Tribe, where two badass women build businesses, chase dreams, and keep it way too real. I'm Kat.
And I'm Mel. We're the founders of Powerhouse Admins and the Limitless Tribe. And we're inviting you into the messy middle, the mindset shifts, and the CEO glow-ups we never see coming.
Now let's get into it.
So today's episode is something that I don't think we appreciate enough. When we think about life-changing moments, we picture like quitting our jobs or getting married, starting a family, maybe starting a business. But that's not usually where life changes, right? Life changes because of the tiny decisions that maybe almost didn't even happen. So maybe you get a text from someone or one conversation that led to something bigger, an invitation, or just one day that you just decided to say yes. So those moments, if you look back, you can realize that if you hadn't done that, if you hadn't said yes, if you hadn't accepted the invite, maybe your life would look completely different and it wouldn't look the way it looks right now. So, Cathy, when you hear like a decision or something that quietly may have changed your life, what immediately comes to mind?
When I was actually in my early 20s, 22 to 24, I was with my daughter's dad, and he was horrible. Like I already knew it wasn't good, and I wasn't happy. I was the most stressed I've ever been, I think. But I had a daughter, and I was just trying to like make it work and try to see if we could improve it or work on it. And I remember that I was at work one day, and I called him, normal call, that I just checked on him or said hello during lunch or something, and a girl answered. And the girl was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just like his coworker. Like I was messing with him and like I forwarded the calls as a joke. But it just, you have like that intuition.
Yeah.
It did not feel like that. It felt like she was equally shocked. I tried to talk to her. She wouldn't talk to me about anything. She was like, no. And she like hung up on me. So then I think I called her. I don't know if I must have found out like where it was forwarded or something. I don't know. I reached out to her somehow. I don't remember. And I was like, listen, woman to woman, like we're engaged. We weren't married. We were engaged. We have a daughter. Like I need to know the truth. Can you tell me everything? And she ended up calling me and we talked and she told me everything. And he had a whole relationship with this woman. Supposedly he told her we weren't together. We were just together because of our daughter. And we lived together, but we weren't together. And they had been together for like 6 months. And specifics, God. Like he would say, he worked security. So he had to work like overnight or like he had to go to like an event out of town. And all of it was stuff that he was spending time with her. And one time he had to go to a baby shower at work. It wasn't like an event that I would go to. It was like a baby shower they were having at work for some coworker. And we bought the outfit. And it was for her later, I find out. For her, not with him. It wasn't
I was going to say.
No.
Oh, it's bad enough.
It wasn't his kid, but she had one kid and had like recently had another kid before him.
Oh my Lord.
So yeah, so that was a pivotal moment where like, if I had called at a different time and she hadn't forwarded the calls, what if I never knew? Like, what if I would have spent 5 more years wasting there?
Yeah.
What if...
that's a huge
one. That was like a big thing. So I'm really grateful for that moment because it changed my life completely in a positive way. Like that wasn't the relationship for me. Like that was to this day the worst relationship I've ever had. But the biggest lessons, I learned so much from that I never dated a loser. I've dated people that were not for me, but never again a loser. So I learned so much and I got my time back very early on, didn't lose my 30s and so many other years. So I'm very grateful for that moment, for that lady that ended up taking the trash and keeping it. And I'm just very grateful. I mean, life would be, oh my God. And
I was gonna say, do you know if they stayed together?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think they broke up and he got with some other girl at some point because he would bring, every time he would see my daughter, which was not very often, he'd bring the girl and all the kids because they eventually had 2 more. So then they had 4 kids plus Tati. So then he met another girl. So he brought her to the Meetup one day. And so it was this girl with 2 other kids. Then she disappeared. So I don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
But I used to tell myself when I always went like the bodyguard. So they would go to Chuck E. Cheese. Like they would be over there and I'd be over here doing homework because I was in college. But I didn't trust him because he disappeared for years. And I would think to myself, thank God. Thank God it's not me with 5 kids,
Yeah.
like this poor as they were and like miserable.
Thank God you took that from me. I really appreciate you.
Like, that could be me. I'm so glad it's
Yeah.
not. So
That is a big one.
very huge blessing.
Yeah.
That little trigger of like her picking up.
Yeah. That if you would have called at any other time, that may not have happened.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's always the little things, but you see, you count your blessings and you're like, oh, that little moment just changed the whole trajectory of how my life could have gone.
Yep. What about you?
Amazing. So I'm going to talk about our meetup, because I really feel like that was probably where a lot of my life changed. I had broken up with my ex, which was a toxic relationship, as we all know. And I had no friends. I didn't know what to do with myself. And I was like trying to find myself. I had just started running and I was trying to like get healthier. And I was like, okay, I'm 35. Like I'm going to go into my late 30s and I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to be happy and I'm going to just change my life. But I didn't know where to start. So I just started running. And then I said, okay, I need friends, because we had worked together, my ex and I, and then everyone that I knew kind of knew him, and they were all in Broward. I didn't know anyone really in Miami. And I was like, all right, well, this is kind of lonely. And then, when you're lonely, you start having the tendencies to go back to someone, and then you're like, oh, this isn't. So I was like, I'm gonna go on this Meetup app that I hadn't heard of. I think I heard of it on the radio, and I was like, oh, I'll try it out and see. And I went on, and I remember I was at home and I downloaded the app and I went onto it and I saw a bunch of different meetups that people were doing. And then I saw one for the Conor McGregor fight, and I went in there and I was like, okay, it's tonight and this is the location. And I started looking at the people and I'm like, okay, these people look kind of normal. These girls, I think they look normal. They don't look like they're crazy. And I said, okay, I'm going to go. And I got dressed, and then I got undressed, and then I got dressed, and then I got undressed. And I may have spent an hour and a half changing outfits and thinking I'm not going to go. Then I put on my pajamas and I said I wasn't going to go. And then finally I went, and I got the courage to get in the car and drive. And I remember I got there, I parked, I went up to the location, and I went inside. I was a ball of nerves. And you guys were all sitting at this table. And I went around the table. I spotted you, and I spotted other people. I was like, okay, yep, that's the table.
And there's nowhere to know. Sorry to interrupt you, because this is like a sports bar game place. So it's huge, and all the tables are close together. So she could walk around like she's going anywhere, and nobody knew she was supposed to be part of this thing.
They had no clue that this is what I was for. So I'm looking at the table, and I spot the faces. So I'm like, okay, I know this is the table with the people for the group. But I got nervous and I walked out. And that is when I saw our friend Erica. She noticed me and she was like, oh, you're on the Meetup app. You're here for the Meetup. And I was like, yes. And she's like, let's go. And she grabbed my hand and we went back in and we wound up sitting next to you. And it was like kismet. I mean, we talked all night. We went out to a different bar after that and danced and hung out. And then just we did all these things. We kept meeting up and talking and exchanged numbers, and I found best friends. And I had never, I hadn't had friends in a really long time. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And that basically changed a whole trajectory of my life, because I could have gone back to my ex. I could have, gotten really sad and ended up back there. Like, who knows what would have happened. But instead I wound up on a path of discovery of myself and digging deep and, doing the work to find myself, know what I wanted, and just meet the right people that I just feel like were grounded and knew what they wanted and had good intentions and wanted what's best for me as well. And they really shared that. So I bared my soul pretty early on.
We all did.
I feel like we shared so much, and it was like really intimate. And now I have like lifelong girlfriends that we travel together, do things together, hang out, and it's just been amazing. Yeah,
that's such a weird moment too, because it's not an important event, and you go with the hope that you're going to meet friends. But I mean, like,
I could have never imagined.
No. Like, I think there would be like a build up. Like, you kind of like somebody, so then maybe you text a while, maybe you meet after months, because it's hard to connect and meet. But it was like instant.
Yes.
And
we went from not knowing each other to being besties in like 0.2 seconds.
Yeah, there was no in between. And I think we've told you guys, like, in other episodes, like in the beginning, we used to go to restaurants and coffee shops, and we it was like a full-blown like therapy session.
Yes.
Like, we would share like everything. It was getting to know each other, but like deep.
Yeah.
Not like the surface level stuff. And then we would all like kind of challenge each other on the things because we're really different. So like what's hard for one is not for the other, and like vice versa. And we would close down the place. Like every time we'd have to leave because we were the last ones there. We would spend hours just like talking.
And just the honesty too. Like, I feel like even when I did end up going back to my ex, and like, you were like, what are you doing? you know, and like seeing your face being so disappointed in me was like also an awakening. And even though you dealt with it, I could tell that you were, and like I feel like those things are necessary when you're trying to grow and trying to like overcome something, or you're stuck in a situation, or you keep going back to it. So it was like those honest moments.
I secretly really hoped that when you saw that guy, his face would turn into mine, like, and then you'd be like, damn it.
So that was really, I mean, obviously you were my maid of honor, and I love you to death.
And you were mine.
Yes, I love you to death. And I think that just really changed a lot of how my life has gone, because I feel like I've grown so much since then.
And you know what's crazy? Like, just getting there, right? But then also like that I don't know, I got there first and I didn't know where to sit. I don't even remember. I don't think the table was full. I remember like the guy that hosted was in the end. Mm-hmm. And I sat over here towards the other end, and I was talking to a girl, but I don't know if were there other seats when you got there, or were those the only ones?
I think there were other seats in the middle. I never even talked to the guy that hosted the thing. That's the thing. Like, I never even spoke to him.
Even if you came, but if you had sat on the other end of the table, because I would have
never spoken.
Yeah, like I never spoke to anybody on that side.
It was literally just us right at the end.
Yeah.
I didn't speak to anyone else that entire night.
Yeah. And I think as soon as we connected, everyone else like disappeared.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who was to my right. Mm-mm. I don't know if there was anyone else in that little section besides us. And people even asked us if we knew each other in advance. Like, they thought we all came together.
Yeah, and we had no clue who each other were. And it's crazy to think, like, had I not been listening to the radio station and heard about Meetup, because I didn't even know what Meetup was. I'd never heard of it, right? It was just a random day that I was listening to the radio. They mentioned this Meetup app, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll think about that. And then I went home, and if I didn't download it, and if I didn't, even if I never took my pajamas off and actually went, or if I would have walked out and not spotted Erica and she wouldn't have grabbed me and brought me back in, like, all those little things led me to finding my best friends, which wouldn't have happened otherwise.
Yep.
So it's crazy. That's crazy to think about. I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
I love telling that story because I feel like everyone's like, you met your friends on a meetup?
And, all three, I've had Meetup for a long time. I think now that you mentioned it, I also heard it in the radio, but I've had it for a long time. I've seen a ton of events. I save the events. I look at the people. I never go. Yep. And that was the only event that all three of us have been to.
Yeah.
None of us ever went to
No, I never went to another one after that. I deleted the app, I think, like immediately after. I was like, I found my two friends. Ding!
I still have it because I think it's a great meetup, but I never went to another one.
Yeah, it was good. But I found my people.
What's crazy about those turning points is that in the moment, you don't know that it's a turning point.
Yeah, you don't.
Because even though it felt awesome, never, I think, could we have imagined that we would get here.
Yeah.
And like when the thing with the ex happened for me, like that was not a good moment. Now it's a blessing.
Yes.
But at that moment, it was devastating.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like a monumental moment in the moment. You just go through it. And then you realize after, like, wow, that moment was pivotal.
Yeah.
And it could be anything ordinary, like a dinner invite that you normally wouldn't have gone to, a new job, walking into a room and meeting someone there, answering a message you normally wouldn't have, saying yes to something scary, and then opening up new doors. Years later, that's when you connect the dots.
Yeah. It's so amazing.
Yes. So another one for me is kind of like a little bit like my work trajectory. It all kind of led me here. So I used to work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car a long time ago when my daughter was little. And I moved up to assistant manager, and I liked it. That was actually before then. When I applied for that job, it did not say sales.
Okay.
I do not like sales. Every time that the job said sales, I would not do it because I'm like a chicken and I'm shy and I'm not, I'm just not a natural salesperson. So if it said sales, I didn't do it. But this job paid more than anything I had gotten before. And it was like a management trainee program. And I didn't find out it was sales until like practically maybe even the interview, or even, I think I didn't find out until I was in it. So I took the job, and then when I was in it, now I'm in it. And I just had to figure it out. But learning sales was huge for me, because then it opened up so many more doors for me. So then at Enterprise, I moved up the ladder. I got to assistant manager. I was on track to be store manager. But I saw how they treated the store manager that I had. And he would have meetings like in his office, and you could hear the yelling from outside. Like, not from him, from the other people. And it was just too much. And I just heard a lot about how they treated like the store managers and above. I never got that experience, but that's what I was hearing and seeing. And I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want to go into that. So I started looking for where else I could work. And I don't know why I want to like where I work. So I thought to myself, like, where do I love, like, what kind of businesses do I deal with that I love, like their customer service, that I would want to be a part of that? And the two businesses were T-Mobile and State Farm. So because I had those service, like those companies, and they had really great customer service. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to join T-Mobile. And now I know that there's sales, but I've already done sales for a few years. So now it's not as crazy for me, right? But if I hadn't done this sales job where I got thrown into, I would have never gotten to T-Mobile, where I met so many amazing people, including my husband, and had so much experience that I learned there, not just in sales, but like in leadership, so many connections. Like, it was amazing. So I took the job there, and I did all the math, because it was actually less pay, but Enterprise was like 50 hours for that pay. And T-Mobile was less hourly pay, but there was commission, which I couldn't know how much it would have been. And there was bonuses. Okay. So I remember I was like, okay, my phone bill is going to go down. I'm going to add that to my pay. And I tried to do all the math to make this work. And I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, if I'm terrible at sales, I might still make this. And even if I am making a little bit less, I could still get another job for the extra 15 hours. And you'll be okay. Yeah, I'd make more money still. So I did the switch, which was like the best decision I ever made. And then at T-Mobile, moved up, district manager. You guys, there's an episode on the story of how I got fired. Worst thing ever. That was the first time I've ever been fired. Not on the corporate side, on the private side. And at that time, it's terrible, but it was a moment where I got to kind of decide where my life was going to go. I didn't know it would be here, but I've always wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know in what, how. And it was always too scary for me, like as a single mom, to take that risk, because you don't know if you're going to make any money if you start a business. But at this time, I had savings. Like, I could cover myself for a year. So I thought, this is my time to try something out. And take this risk, because you've always kind of wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just didn't have the money to cover myself. I feel like to be an entrepreneur, you need either parents or a spouse that can cover you, or a bank account that has the savings. So now I had the bank account. Or be okay living in a box trying to figure it out. Yeah, which I couldn't with my daughter. Yeah, exactly. Mom. But at that time at T-Mobile, I had hoarded money. I hoarded all the savings. So I had enough to cover my bills for a year. And I tried a couple things. I got my real estate license. I tried MLM, and both of those were great, because real estate, I learned the process of getting the license, and I did some sales. And then the MLM stuff taught me like to be more on social media and to post and to be less shy, and they're big on self-development. So I got a lot from there, but it wasn't the right thing for me. So I needed now I'm like a few months in, so my savings are getting lower. And I need something that gives me a little bit of money, but not such a high job where I'm going to get locked in, give you everything, and then forget my idea or my thought of doing something. So I took a job that I feel like I normally wouldn't have taken. It was making appointments for an insurance agent. Again, sales. Yeah. So I had to all leads back to sales. Yes, and convince people to get on an appointment with this guy for him to go visit them and sell them a policy for their family. And it started like part-time, then it became full-time. And I learned a lot about the business, because anything I do, I get immersed. And that's why I didn't want to get like a corporate job. Yeah, because then your dream is going to go to the backside. Correct. The dream, I didn't know what it was yet, but it was something. And then, so I learned so much about insurance. I got connected with so many amazing people through that team. I did get my insurance license also. I sold insurance. And then I decided I was going to sell insurance. And I wanted to stick to it. I made the decision, January 1st, 2023, no matter what, I'm going 100% insurance. I remember she called me and told me this. Yes. And I had already practiced by selling one day a week. And that one day a week paid me more than that job was paying me. So it was a no-brainer, even if I did one, and now I'm going to do 5 days. But it was still super scary to think to go all in. It's commission only. I told my boss, hey, I'm going to be leaving in 3 months. I wanted to give you like as much heads up as possible, because at this point, I wasn't his appointment setter anymore. I was his admin, managing like the whole back end of the company. Everybody that was coming on, onboarding, sales, like everything.
I remember she would call me and she'd be like, I don't think he's taking me seriously because he's not finding anyone else.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
And like I've had an issue throughout my life with like, if a job tells me something, I'm doing it. But I have a harder time committing to something that I say. Yeah. So I was very committed to like, no matter what, January 1st, I am selling. And I told him, and I'm like, are you interviewing? Oh, no, I have my head. I'm like, that's like 2 months. Like, are you? Because I'm going to train them, but it's so much. Like, I needed as much time as possible. And I was like, even after I start, I'll still help and train them and answer questions. But like, I'm hoping to not have so much.
Yeah.
He's interviewing people occasionally, not liking them. So towards the last month, I'm like, fuck it, I gotta hire the person myself. So I decided to go on Upwork, hire the person myself, train them. And I figured I'll make a little bit of the difference in the pay. And right now it's going to be a lot to train them. But once they're, on their own more and like need less of me, then I'll be able to sell insurance. And I have this little extra coming in. And from there, it just came referrals and we got to Powerhouse. I didn't even register the company.
Yeah, which is funny because she registered all the other companies that she never even started.
Correct. Because this was not really going to be a company. It was just going to be a little side money so that I can do what I was actually going to do. And it's awesome how sometimes too, like these decisions lead you somewhere, but it's not always where you wanted it to be, but it's like better.
Yeah.
So it didn't lead me to actually sell insurance, but it led me to be able to open up this business that's been like such a huge blessing.
And give you more freedom and just an amazing life.
Yes, and less stress because I can do sales and I think I'm good at it, but
you don't love it.
I don't love it because it still makes me a little bit nervous. Yeah. And insurance sales, I don't know why made me more nervous. Yeah. Even though I believe in life insurance, I have a few policies. I don't know why it made me more nervous.
Yeah.
So it gave me like a little bit of stress. And this is it's just perfect. Like it really is like the perfect job for me.
It's crazy to think that just those little changes and that trajectory again, like it led you to here. And that's why we keep mentioning like it's those quiet little moments that they're not huge. They're not, these big grand things that happen to you. It's the little parts that really change your life and that you have to like look back at and be just happy and grateful for.
Yeah.
Because I look back at those like, doing the meetup and I'm so grateful that I decided to do that. And just like even with Cathy and Powerhouse, you were, you had grown and we were talking on a chat. And you mentioned, that you wanted a partner and someone to do the business with. And I was driving and I immediately called my husband and I was like, I wish I could do that. And then you wrote me on the side and you were like, I was thinking about you. And I was like, I was just thinking about you. I was thinking about you too.
Was it the same day or like after days?
No, it was the same day.
But I feel like, okay, so I think I had been mentioning it a few times.
You had mentioned it a few times already, but it was that day that, okay, so you had mentioned it a few times that you wanted a partner, but if you wanted someone that you really trusted and that you really knew and, they had to be good with this and that, like there were a lot of things because obviously you're going to start a business with them or go into business with them. You need a trustworthy person, right? And you have to like them. Hopefully you still like me. You have to like them. And she had mentioned it a couple of times. And each time I was kind of like, whatever. But I wasn't really paying attention to it until I don't know what the connection was that day.
Well, so it's funny because from my side, right? I had been mentioning it, but just as an idea in the beginning. I never actually, it's not like I was going to put out an ad specifically. Yeah. I was hoping for somebody that was
fall into your life.
Well, I was hoping for someone that I kind of knew.
Yes.
But as I went through like my people, not a lot of people really fit it. And I needed somebody that I could trust, but that was skilled enough to do the job and that I liked because you're going to work with this person a lot and had like good integrity and stuff like that. And some T-Mobile people came to mind, but I'm like, like there's 2 managers that I loved, but like they're getting this pay and like I don't know and the benefits. And then I never really put out the ad. And then I always thought of Mel from the beginning, but again, Mel got paid really well and I'm like, I don't know. And then after a few times I'd mentioned it, but just as ideas, like us
Yes.
girls talking through it, like it's not that I'm open to it, it's just I'm going to need this soon. And then I'm like, you know what? Mel would fit everything. And I know that she probably doesn't want it, but I feel like you never know. And if I never say it, I'll never know if she maybe would have taken it. And then I thought to myself, knowing Mel, she probably won't say it either. So I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to say it.
It's crazy. Kismet.
And it was like right at the same time.
Because I swear, you had mentioned, like you said, you had mentioned it a few times, and I really, it was just like us talking. So it was never really a thing. And then I don't know why that day when you mentioned it, I immediately called Paul and I was like, I don't know, Cathy said this, and I feel like maybe, and he was like, well, this would be the time to do it. You have me, we're together now and I can help out. So I'm here to support you in any way. And this is your time. And I was like, okay. And then she messaged me and I was like, oh crap. And she was like, so I was like, I was just thinking that too. And it just like, perfect timing, like right there. And I said, okay, I'm in. And it still took a little while to get there, but still it was like, if you had not messaged on that day at that time when I was really like, you know what, I'm a little frustrated today maybe with my other, I don't know what it was. And I was like, this is it. And like, it just happened at the right moment. And that decision completely has changed the trajectory of where I'm going now, because, I went from working in corporate and being in an office and doing all these things. And now, I'm not, and I'm home, and, it's just a whole different business and industry and life. And I get to do it with my best friend, which is amazing. Yeah. And I'm learning new things every day, and it's crazy. It's just, that one moment in the car.
And it's weird that it was
really changed my life.
Because like the moment that I thought maybe I should tell Mel, like if I had done it earlier, maybe you weren't ready,
Yeah.
And
it was just
and
that
if I did it too late,
timing.
Yeah. And that day when I posted it on the chat,
so funny.
I already knew I was going to tell you separately. So I posted, I laid out the groundwork first, and I was like, I'm just going to, and I just felt like, it's better to just know than to wonder. So I'm just going to post it.
But it's so funny because I literally had just messaged Paul. I was like, so, and then I called him and he was like, yeah. And then you met, and I was like, whew. What is happening? This is crazy. And that's another pivotal moment in my life. And I just feel like all these little things, like when you look back now and you think like, oh, wow, like where was I 2 years ago? Where was I a year ago? Where was I, and where am I now? And like, in this time where I've met you, where we became friends, where I met you on the Meetup, I've, grown as a person. I feel like I'm a better person than I ever was, which makes me happy too. I'm more grounded than I ever was before. I'm happier than I've ever been. But I've also, in that time, gotten married. We're in a business together. Like, so many things.
And what's crazy? The decisions combined together, but they're all independent decisions or moments, right? And we mentioned in another podcast the books that change our life. And the Midnight Library talks about like all of those decisions, and then each decision leads to a different life, because I could have done my decisions to get to this point in Powerhouse and we would have already been friends. But if I had never been to the point where I decided I needed a partner and I said that, we could have still been friends, but you wouldn't be my partner.
Exactly.
Or we would have never been friends and I would have had a different partner or no partner, and I'd be like overwhelmed and struggling now. Like, so some of them could have happened and not the others, but like each one is independent, but like it all built on each other.
Or never gone to the Meetup and we never would have even met. And then, who would I have been friends with now? Or we would have met years later on some other random occasion because of something else. Like, who knows, It's just so interesting to think about those things. And I think we discussed once, like, not being afraid to like say how grateful and happy you are about your life and like speak about it. And I feel like that's such a big thing for me. Like sometimes I get I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm bragging, or like I'm like, people are gonna be like, oh, she's like she's bragging about her life, or like they're gonna look down, but I'm just so happy. I don't know, I want
you're like shocked.
Yes.
And that's why you're so proud of yourself that you say it out loud, like, really? Like, is this happening? Is this
Yes.
life? So, but I
I
feel
don't know.
like
I
you
go
can,
through that sometimes. I'm like, do I come off as like I'm bragging or like I'm saying? But I'm just like so grateful for the life I have and so grateful for the way things turned out, because I can't. My daughter's father was abusive. Like, I had no money. I went through so many things, and now to think like all those little decisions that have happened since then have led me here just make me so happy.
I think
And proud.
the energy is different when somebody is really just proud of themselves and really happy, and other people that maybe it's like braggy in a way of like, I'm better than you.
Yeah.
I think that comes off different, and I think people
I
can.
think so too.
I think people can tell, and then some people, there's like a small percentage that are just going to be unhappy with anybody else that's happy.
Yeah.
And those are not the people you want around you anymore.
Not at all. So yeah, so I'm very happy with the way my life has turned out, and I'm so looking forward to even all the things that haven't happened yet. Like, I think about that sometimes. I'm like, ooh, I'm so excited. Like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm so grateful. So it's amazing. But it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. And it's fun because you're leading your life and you're making the decisions, but it feels like there's like a little fun element of like surprise in there that detours you and puts you somewhere better.
Yeah.
You know? What about the hubby?
Oh, so that's another big decision. I think another pivotal moment in my life. Like, these have happened in the last, what, like 7, 8 years, 9 years, 35.
The
A little bit less than 40. Yeah.
8 years for the meetup.
Yeah. So in 8 years, my life has taken a complete turn. I got best friends. I, went into business with Cathy, and I met my husband. And I feel like all in the last 8 years. So that's
the health stuff.
And the health stuff, which is a whole other topic. But that's a lot of things, and like I feel like in a short amount of time. But my husband, I have known him 11 years. I've known him 11 years, and just as an acquaintance, right? Nothing going on, nothing like that. I remember my nephew started school. He was 5 years old, and my brother told me, oh, I went to this school. They had like this dad day or something, fathers, whatever, Donuts with Dad. I think it was Donuts with Dad. And he went and he came home and he said, oh, I met this little boy. His name is Matthew, and my nephew's name is Matthew. He was like, so they're both Matthew, and the dad's name is Paul, and he was really cool. And we got to talking, and he's going to put him in baseball, and Matthew's going to start baseball, and they wound up playing baseball together. So they went to school together. They were in the same class for quite a few years. They played baseball together. And I would see him and his wife and at the baseball field, and nothing, again, didn't have any feelings, nothing like that, just acquaintances, hi, how are you? Yes, okay. At school events, again, hi, how are you? And then years later, they had gotten divorced, or they were separated and like in the process of getting divorced. And my sister-in-law randomly calls me, and she's like, who would be a really good partner for you? And I'm like, who? And she's like, Paul.
And has she ever done that? Because since I've known her, she's never done that. Okay.
Never in her life. And I've known my sister-in-law since I was 9. Okay, so she's basically been my sister my whole life. So she was just like, I really think he would be a good partner for you. And I'm like, you're crazy. I was like, what? No, what are you talking about, right? And I didn't give it another thought. And then a couple days later, again, she never does things like this. She calls me and she says, so we're going to take Matthew, her and my brother, we're going to take Matthew to Urban Air. And I invited Paul, and he's bringing his son Matthew. Why don't you come? And I was like, no, that's weird. Like, why would I do that? And then in the back of my head, I was like, do it, Melissa. Do it. So I was like, oh, do I go? Now, it's not completely weird because I'm always with my nephew.
Yeah, and she's at all the games.
Yes. So for me to show up there wouldn't be completely out of pocket because he sees me at all the games anyway. So I thought about it for a little while, and she was like, listen, we're on our way there. Just get in the car. And I was like, okay. So I remember getting in the car thinking the entire way there, what the hell am I doing? This is crazy. And I got there and he's there and my brother and my sister-in-law are there and the kids are playing. And I remember my brother and my sister-in-law, my brother had no clue why I was there. Like he knew that I was there for my nephew.
Which again is super normal.
Yeah, he didn't know that I was there because Paul was going to be there. So him and my sister-in-law were talking. They went to go do something because I think my sister-in-law like dragged him somewhere
Probably
in there,
on purpose.
you know. And they left us together, and we were just kind of like talking about the kids, laughing, people watching. But it was kind of weird because he didn't know why I was there. So I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go. Bye," and I left because it was odd. So I wind up leaving, and I kept thinking about him. So the next day, I DM'd him. And I slid into his DMs and I was like, hey, so, I had a lot of fun yesterday, whatever. I was thinking if you ever wanted to go out. And he did not message me back for 5 days.
Paul. Listen, early Paul, he was just, it's like somebody who's dating for the first time ever and just doesn't know the dating rules and just blunders them.
So bad. I remember I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God. I just put myself out there with this guy and it's been 5 days and now I'm going to see him at all the baseball games. And he's going to be like, oh yeah, I ignored her.
That's embarrassing.
Ghosted her. So I was like dying.
And 5 days of torture.
5 days. 5 days. He messages me back and he's like, on the 5th day, and he's like, hey, my Instagram is, full of it still has like pictures from me and my ex and this and that. And I didn't want to, so I didn't want to message you there, but I would love to go out with you. And I was like, oh, okay. So here we are now married. But had my sister-in-law out of nowhere just called me one day and thrown this in my face. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. Like completely out of the blue. I would have never, because I don't think I would have ever spoken to him.
What's crazy about that story, that it wasn't your decisions alone.
Mm-mm.
Like if your brother had never met him at that event and they didn't decide to go into baseball together, this may not have ever happened.
Yep.
And then the baseball thing, if your sister-in-law hadn't felt something that she felt like she needed to do, then you might have never, ever.
Exactly. Like, I feel like had she not messaged me that or called me and asked me like about Paul and told me about him, I would have never gone out of my way to speak to him. Because first of all, I don't think we were each other's type. So it's not like someone that I would have been like, oh yeah, it was completely random. Like, and I'm not his type either. Like, we are not what we were each looking for. So I feel like that was completely crazy in itself. But yeah, had they never gone to school together, had they never played baseball together, I have pictures of them on trips with me because I was the chaperone when they were in like 2nd grade, 4th grade. I chaperoned their trips and both of them are in my group and I'm in pictures taking like,
it's so cute that it's so cute how it turned out too, because they're really still best friends and now they're like kind of family.
Yeah, now they're cousins. They love it. They think it's great, but that I feel like in the last 8 years I've had so many moments. I'm just like, that's why I feel so grateful for the way my life has turned out. I really do, because I feel like it could have gone completely different.
Yeah.
Things could have been, I could have never met you. I could have never met Erica. I could have never married Paul. I could have never gone into this business with you. We could have never been doing this podcast and, building a community together. Like, it's amazing.
Yes.
So it just feels incredible.
So if you're in a place that you don't absolutely love right now, you might be a couple decisions away from a totally different life.
Yes.
And remember that like when you're making these decisions, you're not thinking this decision is going to change my life necessarily. It's just maybe saying yes to a few more things that you're feeling called to do, but maybe you're nervous or it's like outside of your comfort zone. And, putting yourself out there a little bit more. And also when the decisions you make aren't good, like something like a job failure or a relationship failure, grab the lesson from it, because that might steer you like somewhere. So don't feel like you're like stuck where you are, because life can change drastically in a couple of years. And and even like now we're 8 years in, but even like I think 4 years in, you weren't in the business yet, and Powerhouse didn't exist yet, but we already had the friendship and you already had Paul. So like, it doesn't need to be 8 years. Like, it could just change. Like,
yeah, it just changes in a moment. Just one decision can change the trajectory of your life. And that book, the one they say yes.
The Surrender Experiment.
Yes. Okay. So even like learning to say yes to more things that might scare you, but they're exciting, like go for it.
Yeah.
Because just that one yes can change your life in such a way that you've never expected.
Yes. Maybe you apply for a job that you're not 100% qualified for. Maybe you're 80 and you take that risk and they love you, and that opens up a crazy new doors for you, or you go into a new industry. It really can be anything, but have fun with it. Like, know that your decisions are not permanent. Like, you can go in other directions. So just have fun with the decisions and take a, maybe look back in life and think about how you got to where you are and what are the decisions that you made that brought you here.
Yeah. So you could appreciate those little moments and you could be like, wow, look how much has changed in my life. I think it's a good reminder of like how far you've come.
Yes. And, besides that, everything can change in a positive way. I think you learn to know that whatever happens, it's going to end well, because even the bad things that happened to me ended well or led to something good. So then you feel like a little bit less like need for control or like stress about things, because it's kind of like knowing that the universe has your back, and if you put in good things, it'll somehow end up in the right place.
Yeah, there may be some bad moments in your life, but nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
And that's a big reminder. Like, you can always get out of the situation that you're in with just one decision. So
absolutely,
I need to get out of this position because I can't turn because of my dress. So I'm just letting everyone know my leg is killing me. But I really hope that everyone enjoyed this episode and enjoyed getting to know us a little bit more. I know I just enjoy, reminiscing and getting to speak on the life-changing moments that we've had. So if you did like it, please subscribe, share it with somebody that, you think needs a reminder of how their life has changed, or the things that have happened in their life recently, or just over a span of years that have made it a little bit better or a little brighter. And our next episode is going to be on romanticizing your life. So until next time, your life, your rules, stay limitless.